My parents told me, "You're the worst daughter we have." Their words hit like a dropped set of silverware in a silent room. A few relatives tried to force smiles for the birthday candles, the fairy lights, the soft background music. But no one moved. Even the air seemed to freeze, as though it didn't want to pick a side. I got up. My chair scraped the floor, a sharp sound like a blade on tile. Then I said, "Stop calling me when you need money." Faces fell. Breaths froze. The music continued playing something bright and out of place. "Hi everyone, I'm Zara," I began. "And I've learned that the people who taught me never to beg are the same ones who beg in private." At 26, I was the daughter who stayed late washing dishes. The one who sent rent when business was slow. The one told to stand straighter, speak softer, and never remind anyone what I had paid for. Mom blinked, her lips forming a perfect O. A mix of surprise or offense, depending on who was watching. Dad's jaw tensed as though he was chewing a word he didn't want to say aloud. My sister fiddled with the ribbon on the gift table, as if this was just decoration, like my life had been thrown in just for color. I stood still. It's strange how much you can hear when you stay motionless. The sound of a cousin's bracelet clinking. The hum of the fridge. My sister's voice quivered as she said, "You didn't have to say it like that." Like that. As if my tone was the problem, not the history. The table smelled of citrus cleaner and resentment. A half-eaten slice of cake sat near my plate, with the fork standing upright like a flag. I watched Mom glance at my phone. She knew exactly what was in it. Transfer receipts with midnight timestamps. The quiet lifelines I had sent, the emergencies I had fixed, because family never needs to ask twice. "Zara," Dad said, smoothing his napkin with slow, controlled movements. "There's no need to embarrass us." The word us was a stand-in for me. I kept my voice calm, like I was speaking to a frightened animal. "I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. I'm just trying to stop being useful only when it hurts." The room felt heavy with silence, like a storm brewing. Auntie stared at her tea. Uncles fiddled with watches that weren't late. My sister finally met my eyes, and for a second, I saw the girl who used to hold my hand crossing the street. Then just as quickly she looked away. I let the moment hang in the air. I let the music continue playing something bright over something broken. I let them decide if I was bluffing. Then without sitting down, I placed my hand over my phone, opened the banking app, and hovered my thumb above the pause transfers button. No one spoke. No one stopped me. The screen lit up on my face like a small rising moon. I held my thumb above the button. Pause transfers. Such a small phrase for what it meant. Years of late-night calls saying, "Help us just this once." And my silence always turning into action. I clicked it. The room shifted. Mom gasped, not loudly, but sharply enough that a few cousins noticed. Dad's hand stopped moving on his glass, droplets of condensation dripping down onto his cuff. My sister's smile faltered, like she wasn't sure whether to laugh or panic. Inside, I wasn't trembling. I had expected to, but there was a calm, like watching waves that once dragged you under finally retreat back to sea. "Zara," Dad said, slow and careful. "You're overreacting." "No," I replied, my voice steady. "I'm just done reacting." The room seemed to tilt. I noticed how the light from the chandelier reflected off the silverware, how the half-wilted roses in the centerpiece smelled faintly sour, how no one, absolutely no one, came to my defense. That was the lesson, wasn't it? They wanted my silence when they insulted me, my money when they needed it, my absence when they celebrated. Finally, Mom spoke, her words sharp. "You wouldn't let your own family suffer." I tilted my head, letting her words hang, and answered quietly, "You already decided I wasn't family." A cousin coughed into his napkin. Someone's phone buzzed, but no one answered. It felt like the whole table was sinking, inch by inch, under the weight of words they couldn't take back. I pushed my chair back further and stood taller. The room blurred at the edges, but my voice was clear. "You called me trash. Trash doesn't fund you. Trash doesn't save you. Trash walks out." And with that, I turned toward the door. Every step echoed, like a verdict. The hallway outside the dining room felt colder, like the air had been waiting for me. My heels clicked against the marble, a rhythm steadier than my heartbeat. Behind me, I heard the shuffle of chairs, murmurs too low to make sense of. No apologies, just fear of what my silence would cost them. I paused at the door, my fingers brushing the polished wood. Childhood memories rushed in, me running through this house with scraped knees, Mom's bracelets jingling as she clapped me close, Dad's booming laughter at the dinner table. How quickly those echoes turned into debts and guilt disguised as love. My sister called softly, "Zara, wait." I turned. Her eyes darted between me and our parents, who remained seated, stiff as stone. She wanted me to be the bridge again, to patch everything up, to make it seem whole. "I can't," I whispered. "Not this time." Her lips parted, but no words came. For once, even she had nothing to say in their defense. I opened the front door. The cool night air rushed in, refreshing and freeing. Outside, the streetlights cast long shadows across the driveway. My car waited, quiet and ready, like an ally. As I stepped into the dark, my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. "We'll talk when you calm down. Don't make this harder." I almost laughed. Calm down? I'd never been clearer. I slid into the driver's seat, rested my hands on the wheel, and took a deep breath. My first real breath all evening. The house behind me glowed with warm light, but it felt like a set, hollow, fragile, one storm away from collapsing. I put the car in drive, muttering to no one but myself. They'll miss me more in silence than they ever valued me in noise. The tires rolled forward, and for the first time, I didn't look back. The road stretched out, empty and wet from the earlier rain. The streetlights flickered like nervous witnesses. Each mile I traveled felt like shedding another burden that had weighed heavily on me for years. My phone buzzed again. This time it was from Mom. "Sir, stop being dramatic. Families argue. You'll regret this." I stared at the screen until it faded out. Regret? I thought about all the nights I skipped meals to pay their bills. The opportunities one passed up because they needed me nearby. The silence I swallowed when they humiliated me in front of others. If regret had a face, it wasn't mine. It was theirs. I pulled into a gas station, the neon lights humming in the night. Sitting there, I watched other families pass by, laughing, tired parents holding sleepy children. None of them were perfect, but none looked like mine. I opened my banking app again, scrolling through years of transactions, rent, hospital bills, random emergencies that always ended with excuses. My throat tightened, but not from sadness. It was clarity. Every receipt was proof. I had been their safety net, and they had turned me into their scapegoat. Another message came through, this time from my sister. "Just come back. We'll work it out." Work it out. Like wiping a napkin over a spill, and pretending the stain was never there. I typed back slowly, "I'm not fixing anything. I'm done being your cover story." I hit send. The word delivered glowed, final and undeniable. In the quiet that followed, I saw my own reflection in the windshield. Tired, yes, hurt, yes, but also unburdened. I whispered into the stillness. They wanted trash. I'll show them treasure they'll never touch again. I turned the key, drove off into the unknown, choosing myself over their approval. The highway stretched out before me, empty, save for the hum of my engine. Each passing sign marked the distance between the life I'd endured and the life I was claiming. My chest ached, but not from breaking. It was the ache of release. The phone lit up once more. This time it was a call from Dad. His name flashed on the screen like a warning. I let it ring, then another call, and another. Desperation masquerading as control. Finally, a voicemail arrived. His voice was tinged with anger disguised as calm. "Zara, don't do this. You know they depend on you. You know we depend on you. If you leave, what happens to us?" I closed my eyes, hearing the hypocrisy in every word. What happens to us? He never once asked, "What happened to you?" I pulled over under a broken streetlight. The air smelled of wet asphalt and gasoline, sharp and grounding. I opened my notes app and for the first time, began writing not for them, but for myself. A ledger not of debts but of truths. They called me trash, selfish, unworthy. But when bills piled up, when lights flickered out, when the cupboards were bare, it was my so-called trash hands that kept them afloat. My fingers trembled as I typed the final line. I am not trash. I am the reason they've survived this long. and they will feel my absence like hunger. The words didn't heal the wound, but they stitched it enough to keep me standing. I started the car again. The road ahead was unfamiliar, but it was mine. For the first time in years, silence felt like a friend. And behind me, in that house of warm lights and cold hearts, I knew my absence had already started to burn. By morning, the storm broke. My phone was flooded with messages, one after another, like frantic knocks on a locked door. Mom, we need you back. The bills are due. Dad, don't make a scene. Just fix this. Sister, they're panicking. Please send something. I read each one in silence. Not one apology. Not one acknowledgement of the cruelty from the night before. They didn't want me. They wanted my money. I sat in a small cafe, steam rising from a chipped mug of coffee. Around me, strangers laughed, read newspapers, typed on laptops. None of them knew me, and yet I felt freer in their presence than I ever had at my family's table. I scrolled through my bank transactions again, months, years, lifetimes of giving. Then I looked at my bank balance, thinner than it should be. All those sacrifices for what? To be called trash? The cafe door chimed as a couple entered, holding hands. The woman brushed snow off the man's coat, and he smiled like she was the only thing that mattered. I swallowed hard. That's what it should feel like to belong. Not like an obligation, but like a choice. My phone buzzed once more, this time from an unknown number. The message read, "If you don't send it, Dad says we'll tell everyone how ungrateful you are." A laugh escaped me, low, bitter, unstoppable. Ungrateful. The word twisted into something absurd. They wanted to paint me as the villain, but I was done holding their frame. I set my phone face down on the table, the screen went dark, and in that darkness, I saw only one truth. They had already lost the best part of me, and I wasn't coming back. I didn't answer their threats. I didn't need to. By the end of the week, the cracks began to show. A cousin posted online about the power being cut at my parents' house. Another mentioned how Dad had borrowed money from him. Money he wouldn't have asked for if my transfers were still flowing. The whispers spread faster than wildfire. And for once, I wasn't the one fueling the flames. I watched it unfold quietly from my small apartment, walls bare but honest. My fridge wasn't full, but everything in it belonged to me. No guilt, no strings. That night, another voicemail arrived. Mom's voice was sharp, brittle. "Zara, everyone's asking questions. Your aunt saw the receipts. Do you want people to know you've been paying for us all this time? Do you want the shame on us or on you?" Her words cracked, and for the first time, I realized she wasn't afraid of losing control. She was afraid of losing reputation. Without me, the illusion of a respectable family shattered. I sat by the window, watching the city lights scatter across the dark. My phone buzzed again, my sister this time. "They're scared, Zara. You've got all the proof. Don't ruin us." I typed back one sentence. "I'm not ruining you. I'm just done saving you." The message sent. Delivered. And in that moment I felt the balance shift. For once, I wasn't the desperate one. They were. And I knew I had already won. But the real justice was still just one step away. The final crack came on a Sunday morning. I was sipping tea by the window when my phone lit up. Not with another plea, but with a group chat notification. My entire extended family had been added. Dad's message flashed on the screen. "Zara has abandoned us. She refuses to help her own parents. We raised her, and this is how she repays us." I stared for a moment, then slowly opened my files. Screenshots of transfers, late-night messages begging for money, receipts month after month, year after year. Proof that the daughter they called trash had been their lifeline. With one steady breath, I dropped every single file into the chat. Dozens of images appeared in sequence. Irrefutable. Undeniable. Silence followed. Finally, my cousin, one of Dad's favorites, replied, "Zara, you've been carrying them all this time." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The evidence spoke louder than I ever could. Minutes later, my sister called. Her voice trembled. "They're humiliated. Everyone knows now. What did you do?" I spoke softly, almost kindly. "I just stopped hiding their trash. I let it sit in the light." She cried quietly on the other end, but I felt nothing, No guilt, no triumph, just peace. That evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, I finally turned off my phone. No buzzing, no begging, no weight on my shoulders, just silence. For the first time in my life, I wasn't their daughter, their scapegoat, or their safety net. I was simply me,